Welcome back to another episode of the Elite Investor Show. I'm James, joined today with Johnny Galan and Helena Wu of EzyRes. So you guys had a breakout 2024 year, an absolutely savage year, which was the award that you guys got for, what was it, net over $1 million in 2024 as a business, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the award. Pretty incredible. And you guys did much more than $1 million, but that is the Savage Award. You guys run a sales team. Helena, you're doing a lot of education and knowledge gathering on your own developments over on the St. Pete side. You guys are crushing it. Something I really want to talk about today is your guys' investment into education, how that has really delivered a return for your business. I mean, John, you're talking about in some of our leadership chats, you're talking about how you hire, and you're just so tactical on how you guys execute and run your sales team. It's really, really impressive. So those are some of the things I want to talk about today.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was listening to like Alex Ramosi, and he was saying that, and this is another thing that I've been thinking about too, is just like anytime you ask somebody that was successful or built a huge company or anything, if you had it all like leave today, could you rebuild it tomorrow? And they always say 1,000,000% I could. The reason is because you already have the skills and the know-how on how to do it.
Yeah.
So like the most important thing you could develop over time is the skills, because no matter the economy, no matter the market, no matter what happens, one bad deal, whatever, the knowledge and the skills that you acquire will stay with you forever. And you could always do other things. If one thing fails, you now know what not to do, and knowing what to do also means knowing what not to do. So the skills you invest in for yourself is going to pay off in dividends, and it's the best investment you could ever make.
I love that. I love that. So what do your company look like today? You guys have how many employees? How do you kind of break that out, task organized?
Yeah, we have, I think, 15 employees as of today.
Wow.
And 4 on the acquisition side. We did a big hiring effort in 2025. We brought on 7 people. 4 acquisitions. We have 1 on the dispositions and a dispo associate, 1 VA on the dispositions, 2 admins, 2 admin VAs on the disposition side. We have 1 JV associate who's just talking with all the wholesalers.
Is that American?
He's VA.
Mhm.
And then we have a acquisitions admin who pulls off the list for agents, gets the listings, and then sends it to acquisitions reps. We have an in-house transaction coordinator, an underwriting associate, and an underwriting manager. And the underwriting manager is also like our integrator / implementer.
That's it.
That's it, right? And then us, who wear the other hats.
Yeah. So you said something like, we hired was it 7 in 2024? That feels scary at the time.
It is.
Oh, and I felt excited.
We all scarred over that. These thoughts positive, so always calms my nerves out. And
And actually interesting. This is the first time on the show we've ever had business partners in the same business on. So it's interesting to kind of see the dynamic. So you felt scared. You felt optimistic.
I'm like not scared. I'm just always more cautious. And case like always glass half full. I'm always not like glass half empty, but like more cautious and more realistic. You're always just super positive.
Yeah.
But we brought on 7 people in February alone. Like they all onboarded in February.
Of 2025?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Wow, so it's like a huge amount, and we don't reckon take a huge step back on our revenue, but gladly it's okay, surprise.
Yeah.
So end up only 5 stayed. The other 2 had to let her go just because the culture fit or end up not working. But I think it's a more efficient way of hiring, because on this position side, we hired 3 people, end up keeping 1. If we need to hire 1 at a time, it's going to take a much longer time to find the right person. So I don't mind, bring on 2, 3, train them at the same time and see who is the best fit and keep that person.
how much do you tell them about that up front?
No, really, because my intention is if they are good at, we have enough deals to keep all of them busy.
Yeah.
So my intention is to keep all of it. I don't want them to go, but end up not working. So I'd rather hire 2, 3 to increase the velocity of hiring people.
Yeah, I love that. Just maintain that momentum.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. What are some other things that you guys did in 2024 to really set yourselves apart? Because you guys absolutely dominated. I mean, you guys were doing like a ton of JVs, right?
Yeah, still are.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't say we necessarily, I think we just found, because in 2023, we weren't like officially business partners yet. We were kind of like working deals here and there together. And then I had a different business partner, and we would JV deals with Helena a lot. And it basically was me and Helena just talking to each other constantly for like 6 months. And then we decided They're like, hey, let's just make it just us two. So around October of last year is when we kind of started the transition from me and my business partner to me and Helena kind of. But it wasn't until about like November, December when it was like actually us starting to run the business. And so we took a hit. We had at that point like 12 people. And I think we only kept, because we gave them like, hey, whoever you want to work with, if you want to work with Helena, with me, or with our other partner, they get to choose who they wanted. And we also had our own draft of who we wanted as well.
And this was 2023 or 2024?
23. Okay, so this is before. So yeah, that we did differently was now we were intentional about building the business together.
Yeah.
And so we knew who we needed to hire, and we made a ton of mistakes. Obviously, 24 was a huge learning experience on like how to hire, how to run a team, when to fire people. We kept people around for too long. Is that a mistake? Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Now it's like, we'll know within the first 2 weeks. Yeah, I have too much empathy.
They kids move for too long.
Yes.
But they said, no, we should let them go. And we just, well, maybe 2 or
Yeah. Because I look more like if they have like the ambition, the drive, and like they could develop the skills, then let's do it. Because the hardest thing is to teach that.
Yeah.
But they didn't necessarily have all of that. So yeah, now that we've got like a good onboarding process and good like metrics for 30, 60, 90, if they're not hitting what we need them to hit, I can already tell from it now having A players like, all right, this person's not gonna work out. I don't give a shit. I'm not wasting my time.
Wow. Yeah.
It's
What were some of those other learning lessons if 2024 was such a growth year? I mean, it sounds like some of these lessons was trial by fire.
So I want to touch on that really quick before I share my lesson.
Yeah.
I think, we brought on the Meet Expo 1 week before. So last week was their first week. But
I was in as of now. Like,
yes, the first
let's not
user.
Okay.
So this is the second week. But I already knew maybe the third or fourth day if they can work out or not. So compared to before, it takes me 2-3 months to be able to realize if that person has the potential.
Clarity.
Yes, so we can tell exactly very quickly by some things they're doing or small things if that just be the right hire or not. If not,
Yeah. Is it okay if I chime in?
Yeah.
What are those things?
So basically, willingness to take ownership and actually do the dirty work, I would say. Because my philosophy is for a salesperson, they need to start from, cold calling or appointment setter, kind of like the hard, dirty work to be able to become maybe a follow-up specialist, to become a closer. To someone who just wants the closer job because they think they are, qualified enough and then write the dirty work, which is cold calling, it just shows you don't have the work ethic. Because what if something happened, you still want to go back to cold calling yourself.
Yeah. So is there anything that you guys do in the screening process to try to replicate the ability to discern that trait about them?
Sometimes we just ask straightforward question, hey, are you willing to do that? Basically paint the picture out the day-to-day.
Yeah.
And maybe even exaggerate a little bit because we want to discourage them from the role. And if you're still, for it, knowing all the potential hardships in front of them, then that's tell something.
Yeah.
And secondly, just ask their past experience and see if they were doing similar tough, dirty work, hard work before already.
Yeah.
And if they are accustomed to that, then, they shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and you could also paint like problems, like if you notice problems that people in the role were facing and see how they would solve that. Just see like the way that they're thinking, if they understand like the essence of the role, and then like ask them the actual numbers, like what were your metrics? What were you supposed to do? How did you match up to that? Because they're also, the other thing is like they need to be proactive as well as like reflecting their own performance. So they need some sort of like a personal development mindset. Otherwise, like if I ask some of that, oh, what do you do to get better? Like, how do you do that? If they're like, oh, they don't seem like they look at their goals. They look at some of the metrics that they were supposed to hit. Did they have a slow week? Did they have a good week? Why was this better than the other ones? They're not constantly looking into like, different types of sales training or books or anything like that. And they're not trying to build their skills. Then I already know that this person is going to be not an A player, because A players are always constant trying to get better, reflecting on themselves, and they take whatever they're doing as if it's their own business at that point. And so like when you have a bunch of basically mini business owners in the roles, I mean, then that's when you start really seeing success with that person.
You ever concerned that the words and behavior don't align? Because people can tell you what they think they want you to hear. They think it is that you want to hear in the interview that would be like positive traits for them. but then the behavior once they're actually in the role, I've experienced that where people are a little bit different once they're in. Like, yeah, I wake up early and I work hard. I'm willing to be flexible sometimes when extra consistency is needed or whatever. And then when it comes to like, I don't know,
He also said that.
excuses.
Yeah.
So two things. I think first of all is during the interview, how you ask question is important. That's why sometimes I don't have him ask question as I let me ask question because I feel like he always mislead people to the answer he want. People can sense that or frame. So yeah, so I just took it over. Let me ask questions. So just ask really open-ended, neutral questions so they wouldn't be able to guess. Yeah,
Do you happen to have an example? This is fascinating.
so, for example, some people, let's say, if I know the role requires a lot of cold calling, repetitive work, I would ask her, okay, so would you prefer like more of a project based, manage your own timeline on the touch base from time to time on the milestones, or do you prefer doing the same thing over and over again per day?
Yeah.
That way, no.
Yeah.
I'm not like, and then, okay, so I also paint a picture. Hey, let's see if I give you a deal to sell and you can manage from the beginning to the end how you want to sell it, or if I gave you a list to call and like give you an expert, which would you prefer? There's no negative connotation on either way.
Yeah.
See your preference.
It's good. Yeah.
Hey, we just ask like, do you like? Is it
If you have to cold call all day, how do you feel about it?
great? Always say great.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely love it. I love cold calling. It's one of my passions. Know it well, cold calling.
Yes.
So that's the first one is how you ask questions for the interview. And second was actually put them in practice in the first week. See how they perform and you will know immediately.
Yeah. And if you're kind of 50-50, you could role play on the interview too. Like I role play with some of people say, I think I said everything great, but I could help people. But if you don't actually understand like the basics of the specific thing you're quote unquote selling, then it's just going to be a longer process. That's not what I'm looking for right now in our acquisitions.
How do you guys hold you folks accountable once you realize they demonstrated proficiency?
Once we brought them onto the role and after their onboarding process or during onboarding.
Is it okay if I actually ask it a different way?
Yeah.
Okay. You probably have one or two top performers. The first one or two names you thought of are probably it. You guys may have talked about it, you may have not. But if that person is crushing it, and they have like a down month, how do you guys deal with that as business owners and as leaders? Because they've demonstrated they know what to do. Is that a market thing? Is that a personal life thing? Is that a like teamwork collaboration thing? How do you guys deal with something like that?
Well, I mean, it happened to one of our top performers, and basically what I did was I just went through his numbers, and I have them bake in their KPIs as well. And I asked them to do this again. This isn't homework, right? I make sure that they know that, but I'm like, I send them a list of reflection questions to answer himself every Saturday or whenever he wants to do it. Everybody on the team, and then when we get on the one-on-one meetings, I'm like, did you do those reflection questions? Yes. Okay. What were some of your biggest insights from there? What is your target area for the week? What's your area of focus for the week? And they give it that to me. And I think it aligns with what I think because I look at their numbers, I look at their gap analysis, their skills, occasionally analysis, and I listen to some of their calls and I kind of come up with what I think should be their focus areas and I see if it aligns also. And then if it doesn't, then I ask them more about that. But then when it's a slow month, I'm like, all right, so why do you think it was slow? Like, what do you think happened? Why didn't we get the contracts we thought we would get? And I kind of see what they think. So it's more about asking questions in the way, like if I was in that position, right, and I had a slow month and I knew I was dedicated and I knew I was going to do what I needed to do to succeed, what kind of questions would I ask myself to figure out the reason and also make sure that it's on me? Because it's nothing to do with the market. The market might slow it down a little bit, but you have to learn how to pivot.
Yeah.
And if it is the market, okay, what about the market is it that's slowing us down? Is it now because of all these offers, that because of all these flood zones, now it's a heavy buyer's market, so now it's just like we can't assign as many of those deals because people get the pick. It's like, what is it? Did I slow down on my numbers? Like, let me look at my ratios. And so I have them just kind of look at the data and reflect on those questions by asking them those questions. And then I'm like, all right, perfect. So if that's the issue, what is your plan to overcome that?
Data. You mentioned the data. The tracking of information and data in your business sounds critical.
Any business.
So many people don't do it, and it blows my mind. So many people, it's actually crazy. I spoke at this event about 6 weeks ago, and I spoke about leadership. It wasn't really about like KPIs or scorecard or metrics or anything. And this guy came up to me after, and he's like, electrical contractor. I had 14 employees. We do a ton of both residential and industrial electrician jobs. And last year we did like 2.8 million. What is it? He said 2.8 million. And I was like, okay, like what was your net? Like, what are you doing net per month? And he's like, I'm not sure. I was like, what was your annual EBITDA in your business? He's like, I don't know what that means. I was like, dude, you're coming to me asking questions about how I can maybe get some insights to help you grow, and you have no idea.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to shame you. This conversation is probably productive because it's going to illuminate what you need to go learn and dive into in your own business. But you have no idea what's occurring in your own business. And it was kind of like, it was like a, oh shit kind of moment for him. But this guy, credit to him for like bringing this up and just being very open to talking about it. This guy was like probably, he'd been running this business for like 20 years. So he's probably like 45, 50 years old or so. I was mind blown. I was like, screw. If you have the drive and you have the consistency and maybe the skills to help grow your business, you're not tracking any information to help you make decisions about what things to do that will help that growth.
You also don't know what success looks like for the role. Like, now for the off-market acquisitions role, if you do 35 calls a day for the first 60, 90 days, you'll get a deal. You'll get a contract at least within the first 60 days for sure. And so far happened.
I think so there are probably listeners on this, listening to the show, tuning in, that need to hear that again.
We'll be back to the show in 1 second. On budget, on schedule, and high quality. These are all critical factors with any trade that we work with, and they're the reasons that we send all of our plumbing needs to CXR Plumbing and Handyman. We have a great relationship in working with them in Tampa, and I want you to be able to work with them too. Check them out.
35 calls per day. If you do that,
35 conversations.
35 conversations. So somebody actually picks up, you have a productive engagement. If you do that 35 times per day, within what period of time?
Within the first 60 days.
In the first 60 days, you'll definitely get a contract.
You'll get at least one contract. You also always have to make offers from that. So like, don't just have
Yes.
It's intentional conversations. And I was wondering, because people I know, I spoke to 35 people, but I just got said no, every single time. Like, that's not going to turn into one. Like, you got to have intention behind every single conversation. Like, I'm looking for an address, whether it's on or off market, and then I'm going to look at that deal and I'm going to make sure I get my offers out and follow up with those. But to get the offers, you got to have the conversations, and it boils out to about 35 combos a day.
But if you're not tracking those inputs,
You'll not.
But back to that person, like if he invested in himself, hired a business coach or something, he would know he need to track way earlier than 20. So come back to invest yourself, because you always don't know what.
I also think your scorecard changes over time. That's actually something I want to talk to you guys about. I see in wholesaling over the years, like your lead generation channel matters a lot. SMS doing that like 4 years ago, that works less well in some markets than some other marketing channels. Like, has that changed for you guys as you've grown?
For marketing, sure, there are three main ones. One is inbound, one is outbound, another one is referral. So for inbound, for wholesale, it's like Google ads, PPC, PPL, stuff like that. For outbound, like this ads, we're doing cold calling, reach out to agent. And for referral, is our wholesaler referral. So we don't do any marketing or outreach to wholesalers. It's all from the referral, word of mouth.
Yeah.
So we have the outbound and referral being established. For inbound, we have not been doing any. I would say the marketing channel is pretty much the same. It's just now we have more people doing outbound. We increase the volume, and we have a better system and process for outbound, so it's more effective now.
And then it's also like going even deeper too. Like right now, we're not prioritizing going deeper. Like for instance, for wholesalers, last year when we had done like 70 or 80 JB deals, and those came from like 35 different wholesalers. Because I wanted to see, like, are we relying on one? Are we doing multiple deals with people? How many wholesalers? So 35. So I reached out to all 35 of them, and I said, how did we start doing deals together? I wanted to see, was it from a Facebook group? Was it from social media? Was it a referral? If it was Facebook, like, was it from like a different mentorship group that we joined? Yeah. So I wanted to see like what was the percentage of that, so I could go more heavier into that channel and get more of the quality wholesalers. So we were able to do that, and it came from like the first mentorship that we joined. Like 35% of those leads came from that.
Well,
You could go deeper into the channels as well, but right now it's not a priority to go super deep in the channels yet, because we still have to. I can't track everything. Helena still has to sell a lot of deals, and our main integrator is underwriting. So getting people elevated out, more projects to go deeper in the numbers and everything. But even with the numbers too, as far as like accountability, Like, it's hard to argue with somebody if I'm like, yo, you spoke to, 1,000 people in July, but then you spoke to 600 people in August and you didn't have the same results. Why did you speak to 400 less? What happened? Yeah. And then they could start thinking, well, I had a baby, so I took over off for 2 weeks. And so, so that makes it okay. So now if you had the 1,000 conversations again in September and you're able to make at least the same amount of offers, you think you will get the same results? I think I will. Okay, cool. Now, when you have these conversations and you're getting less contracts, what are some of the common objections you're getting that you don't know how to handle? And then you're just framing the conversation to have them come up with the answer. And then from there, they could see like, I'm doing what I could do, but I can't control your behaviors. And your behaviors are the KPIs. And those lead to results when the behavior is intentional and reflected on.
It's very tactful the way you apply a lot of
So you don't tell them what to do, you ask them questions and they come to the conclusion what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
How are you guys spending your time these days?
Training, onboarding, listening to the sales calls, looking at their numbers and trying to figure out better ways to be a sales leader. So my whole time is basically on the people, just leading. And I don't like using managing because I think when you manage somebody, you more manage the process and you don't give them the room to grow. But when you lead people, that's when you could actually have a team of killers.
Yeah. I mean, I would say you're there now or you're on your way.
Yeah. So for me is also people hiring, training, and also spend a lot of time on sales because I'm still selling every single deal almost. So basically selling deals and training people.
Does that still feel like a grind to you?
I wouldn't say it's like a challenge skill set wise because I have been doing it for so long, so I'm pretty comfortable doing that. It's still a grind in terms of volume because so many deals, so many conversations. Still will be late night conversation always. So
The one thing about wholesaling is like every day feels like a week because there's just so much stuff.
also also time was monopoly of five.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
There's a lot of deals and it's so fast too.
Yeah.
Everything is urgent, right? Not everything's important, but everything is urgent.
Yeah.
And so like when you don't have the proper people delegated and confident enough to do the role, like it's nonstop. So like I understand why wholesaling has a very high turnover ratio, not in like companies in general. Yeah, the people is because if you don't tactically and systematically build a business to where you don't have to do the day-to-day stuff, it's not the most money's there, but it's not the most fun way to it's not the fun way.
Very
Out of day. It's like ram your head against a brick wall every single day.
By the end of the day, I don't want to think like at all. Like I just sit on the couch and like when you're a really loud place and then you go summerside, you could hear the silence because it's ringing. Yeah. That's basically at the end of every single day, head is buzzing and I'm just like, my fiance was like, what do you want to do? You want to play a game? I'm like, dude, don't touch me. Can't play a game. I don't want to think. I don't want to make any decisions. I'll leave that up to you.
Do you feel like you get
a lot better, but enough of them. I'm not that exhausted.
do you feel like you get decision fatigue? Dude, I get decision fatigue big time. So I have 100 points every single day. When I get up in the morning, I renewed fresh with 100 points I can get. And I can spend that on 10 different big decisions that require 10 of those points. Or if I'm faced with 100 small decision that requires one of those points, I'm every time I have like some kind of decision based on the gravity, the problem solving, the thought that goes into that decision, I'm shedding those points out. And so I try my best to remove my involvement in every single decision because it would involve me giving away some of my points. And I only have 100. You can't get more. That's why what you talked about. So for example, like here's a really simple one. I wear the same thing every single day. I wear one of my shirts like every day. So it's not a decision. I don't have to think about it. I know exactly what I wear every single day. If it's clean, like I get that. If it's dirty, I go to what's clean. So that's one thing. And then having really good processes. It sounds like you guys agree with this too, but having good processes within my team to where they know they don't have to come to me with certain things. And then if they come to me with that, I'm like, why are we having some kind of breakout here? Or instead of, sometimes there are things that are outside the box and kind of unique and they'll come to me and I was like, what do you want to do about it? I don't need to go on and solve this problem. I feel like I definitely get decision fatigue big time. I'm curious how you guys it sounds like you're just
I think the way I make decisions, especially important ones, it's like I kind of ruminating on the data and synthesizing them throughout a long period of time. So I'm immediately or I'm like cooking or eating, that thing is like in my brain throughout the rest of the day. I'm just keep thinking on problem. And then I'm in a position where I feel like I have enough information or enough data. So it's not like very draining because it's keep going on in the bad stage of my brain.
Doesn't that eventually feel like it wears you down a little bit?
Oh, it's like if I'm walking up nothing to think about when I think about those things.
Do you feel like you're obsessed?
Yeah.
Like, has anybody ever told you, like, people who maybe are outside real estate or entrepreneurship, they're like, Helena, like, kind of like,
People think about workaholic. I'm too much all the time since I was a kid at school because I was just the hardest, student, hardest working student. But who gives a fuck? It doesn't matter. Like I enjoy what I'm doing. I don't think it's too much for me, and I'm not like I'm pushing myself to do that. It's just my way of living my life.
this is good. So, how do you respond mentally when, if you meet an acquaintance and they're like, Helena's kind of like, she's kind of a lot.
Yeah.
Helena's she's a workaholic. How do you kind of react to that?
So I think two things. The first one is when I was younger, even younger, when you don't have a strong self identity who you are, you tend to be, challenged very easily. Especially I moved from different country, from China to here, from different city all the time. And each time is a different group around me. And they're going to say different things about you and what you are supposed to behave or do. And if I don't have a strong who I am and my self identity, it got challenged all the time. I don't know who I am, how I should carry myself, the unity between external version of myself and the internal voice of myself. Until I established more confidence and just like self-awareness, know who I am, who I want, then that cannot be unified as one person, which is Helena. Then whatever they say, it doesn't matter anymore because I know who I am and my identity.
So good.
So that's the first thing. Second really is like what they say to me, if they say I'm too much, which means they're not doing enough. And people who are telling me those, are they the people who I admire and live their life? If not, why do I give a fuck?
Savage.
Yeah.
That's savage. Have you guys heard this analogy before? It's like, if somebody saw you on the street and right, Helena, like, I hate your blue hair. It'd be like, I don't, but I don't have blue hair. Like, that's kind of a crazy thing to say. Like, it's literally illogical because I don't have blue hair. I think this pertains to the idea that a lot of humans, like, they just desire to fit in. And when you desire to fit in, you weigh strangers or maybe people who don't know you well, their opinions when you really shouldn't. So people are like, oh, Helena's kind of a workaholic, or she's a trait that could be viewed negatively, but it's not true for you and your identity. Well, like, that carries zero weight. It'd be like somebody telling you have blue hair if they label you with the trait that's not actually true,
Yeah.
but you just can't see it because it's not blue hair.
Right. And also, they live the life they want. I live the life I want. And it's good that they're not living my life and I'm not living their life because we don't like each other's life.
Yeah. I struggled with this in high school. I think probably a lot of kids do. I struggled with this in high school because I never felt like I fully maybe fit in high school. And I'm 37 now. I'm like much older in my adulthood. I've been grateful, like being in the military and accomplished a lot with real estate. The more I've matured as an adult, the more I really appreciate it because I remind myself that if you desire to fit in, you are trying to be average. And if you want to be average, you should expect to get an average result.
Yeah.
So why are you trying to fit in? Like, be unapologetically you, it sounds like that's like exactly what you're doing. I love that.
Nowadays, I feel like when you're younger, you want to fit into the status quo because you don't want to be the weird kid or anything.
Yeah.
Now, you want to be unique because you don't want to be like everybody else because you want to have something about you that, people talk about. That's what's going to separate you from others. Like when the older you get, the more unique you want to be, but the younger you are, the more normal or like everybody else you want to be. Something that you just have to grow over. And like Helena said, that once you find your identity, it really doesn't matter out other people because a lot of people, 98% of the world probably, again, I just made that number up, but majority of the world don't even try to figure out what their identity is or who they are. They just kind of just go with the flow and opinions of others. But again, the opinion of somebody in a place that I don't want to be matters nothing. I'm not saying be closed off. Like you could learn from anybody. always be open to seeing, is there something I've learned from? Oh, the interesting idea. Why do you say that? Like, be curious about life from anybody.
Yeah.
But like, whether the opinion holds weight or not only really matters if it's coming from somebody in a place that you want to work towards. Right. If it's about me, if someone's like, you're kind of a dick, and I'm just like, well, what does that even mean though? Like, how am I a dick? Right. Like, am I just mean? Am I just like, do I just brush you off? Like, how am I doing that? Oh, you never talk to me when I'm talking to you. Okay. Well, why? Like, how am I doing this? Like, and I want to see, like, am I actually a dick or not? I don't really care if I am or not, right? Because the way I'm carrying myself is the way I carry myself. But if I'm around people and I'm like, okay, I'm conscious that I can be a dick. I'm not saying I am, but I can be. Then let me just be more aware of that. So now when I'm in rooms with other people, I can be more aware of how I act so I don't come across as a dick.
Yeah. Does that make sense? Makes perfect sense. We talked about culture index. I don't know if I read you mine, but one of my lines that describes I'm like an architect in the culture index. I will separate myself from emotions. And it doesn't mean I'm unaware that emotions exist with other people, but I will distance myself from emotions. So I give myself the space to think more clearly.
Mhm.
And oh my gosh, it couldn't be more true. So with that point, fix something that I've had to do personal, like interpersonally, is usually the first thought that comes to mind that I probably shouldn't say it. Cause it's like, it's very emotionless and it can be very cold and like ruthless and direct. And it's not actually how I feel, but it's just like it's based entirely on fact and not on emotion. But humans are emotional thinkers, so yeah, you should probably take into account some level of emotion and ideally compassion when you're talking to others, even if it's in business. Have you guys always been super driven, both of you?
Yes.
Yeah. I own.
You said yes, like without even hesitating. Can you think of a time you were a kid you were just like, that's just
I always had a deep rooted feeling that I was meant to do something and I wasn't going to be average. Like, I've always, I mean, at one point I thought I was gonna be the NFL, but I mean, I was like, friggin' 100 pounds in high school. It wasn't gonna happen, but I still knew I was gonna do something with my life. I didn't know exactly what it was, but I always felt like core deep in my like stomach and like in my chest, my whole life from whenever I could remember memories. That I've always was like, all right, I'm gonna be something. I'm gonna do something that's gonna be great. I'm not gonna be average. So I've always had that feeling. I just didn't know what path I was gonna take, but when you just constantly follow the gut, it just leads you to the path you're supposed to be on. So yeah, I've always known I was always driven, always ambitious, always obsessed, but it's not really obsession. It's obsession of like living the life I was meant to live. But yeah, I've always had a strong feeling. That's why I don't really get stressed when things go wrong, because I'm like, what am I learning today? Because I know where I'm going. I know my destination. This is just some of the steps that I got to take to get there. So it's fun because shit, I'm not going to give up, never going to give up. And I know that we're meant for something insanely huge.
I love that. How do you guys feel about the principle of balance for yourselves? If other people like you're not very balanced or like you should do more things to find balance, how do you guys view that for yourselves? It's kind of a loaded question.
Like balance between work and life.
But yeah, let me ask you a different way. Nay. Do you feel like you have a balanced life? As far as like, Colleen, are you balanced?
No. In certain area, I'm not spending enough time and energy. Those areas I don't care as much. So I intentionally, selectively not balance in those areas.
Okay. Like, what can you explain a little bit more about like what areas you think you're putting more energy and effort into and which areas you're not? And it sounds like you want it to be that way. Yeah.
Yeah. For example, I spend all my time on growing business, learning, right? Basically build myself, become stronger and stronger. I'm not intentionally spend a lot of time to look for a partner, for example, at this stage in my life.
Yeah.
So it's not balanced for some other people who are looking to get married sooner, but for me, it's an intentional choice.
Yeah. And you're prepared to accept the result,
Which it is.
which is a growing business that is successful and maybe not having a partner.
Yeah, it is not balanced, but it's my choice.
Yeah. You would choose that like every day.
Yeah. And if you think it's not balanced, one day you can always shake the weight in different areas and change it. So it's just imbalanced for other people, but not for you.
Yeah. How do you view that?
Balance, I mean, it's just a matter of setting priorities, I feel like. If I prioritize business and I also prioritize family, and I could schedule into my calendar or my week or something to where I could find some balance. Now, balance isn't necessarily like, if there's 6 days, 3 of those days, I'll spend the business, 3 days with family.
Yeah.
It's just no, like if it's a priority of mine, and let's say one of my priorities is being around my grandma as much as I can. But my biggest priority is still business. Like I'll set times where like, all right, Saturdays, 7 to 10, I'll do some work and then I'll just drive home and I'll hang out with my grandma. So like that's how I be balanced. It's not necessarily in time. It's just like, okay, what are my priorities and am I prioritizing those? It doesn't have to balance like the all 12 aspects of my life. You know what I mean? Like spirituality plus parenting plus family plus knowledge and all that stuff. It just, I think when you prioritize, it creates habits, which then can make you feel balanced. When you're out of balance, it's just usually you're not prioritizing something you know you should be and you're neglecting it, I feel like.
Yeah. So the lion's share of how you guys like define balance for yourselves is working within the business. Sounds like.
Working on the business and definitely not within, working on the business, but also prioritizing like relationships, right? So like I have a fiance. I don't do the best job at balancing that with the business because the decisions and everything and all my time with other people. But then is it priority? Yes. So I'm like, if she calls me out on it, I gotta be okay with like, you know what? Yeah, baby, I'm not doing the best. What can I do differently? How can I get better? Prioritizing family. I'm not going to see them every single weekend.
Yeah.
Because there's things that might come up, but I will make a priority to see them at least once a month. So like you just set standards, I think, to keep some sort of balance. I just think balance, though, if you feel like you're out of balance, it's just a matter of perception at that point. But I feel like I'm out of balance no matter what I'm going to do. I'm going to feel out of balance until I say to myself, all right, now I'm balanced. Like,
Makes sense.
you know what I mean? Like you could do all these things to be balanced, but you still feel unbalanced because maybe now you're growing at a slow rate.
Yeah. What's got you guys most excited this year? We're at 2025. We're almost at the end of Q1, 2025. So we're in March. What's got you excited for the rest of the 9 months of this year?
I think we're really finally be able to get ourselves out of the day-to-day of the business. It's got like for real this time. Because we spend so much time figuring out the right system, the right process. And we had the proof of concept of its success on one person, one employee for like different role. So now it's time for us to replicate by hiring more people. We did not rush into hiring before knowing it's working and seeing the success from one person, but now we're ready. That's why we brought on like 5 people in February. We expand our application team from 1 person to 4 people. So it's going to triple or quadruple our revenue for sure. And now we're aggressively hiring on this position as well. So once that's been delegated, we'll have more time to pursue other market, extend other marketing channel. So I think hiring people, investing in them, getting them successful in a role is the thing I'm looking forward the most this year.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to not have to solve all of these problems, like these little problems all the time, like, on these little deals. It kind of like even just sitting down right now, I think I've got 4 missed calls and probably about like 35 text messages.
Yeah.
Like I was just sitting here and my phone vibrating like that.
Yeah.
Like I'm excited for it to be vibrating about like bigger things, bigger. He's more excited.
No, let's be really candid. Like I think there are not enough entrepreneurs that sometimes talk about the cost of the success. Like you're stressed some days. I'm stressed some days. You're constant problem solving. We had decision fatigue. In the day, you're like, I just got totally bamboozled. Like since we've been sitting here. All right, so not too bad. Hey, not too bad. Look, I have 4 texts and 4 social media notifications, or sorry, 7 social media notifications and 19 emails since we've been sitting down. So not the worst, but I think this is interesting. I have to sort of talk about what do you got on your phone? So we've been seeing now for 30 minutes.
32 messages and a bunch of phone calls, 3 tons of people calls.
Yeah. So what do you think? Probably a third or half of those are like problems you actually need to solve. No, fuck it.
No, the team should take care of that.
I said no fucking job because it's just like the same issues over and over. Not saying about the people not being common on the team, not that. It's just some of them are new hires, some of them are. But the issues that we're getting hit with, like if I'm asking, like buyer only wants to sign an extension until the 20th, 18th, but the agent wants you to sign until the 20th. We're talking about 2 days here. Like the decision fatigue. Is this really a decision I need to make?
Yeah.
Like figure it out. I'm sorry. So it's just these types of problems when they've been constantly happen for 2 or so years, it could be just a huge pain in the ass. Right. So like I'm very excited about, I'd rather have the bigger problems like, hey John, on this new development property, we have to do pilings in now and it might cost you an extra $50,000. Shit, that's fun. That's different. That's bigger, better, and different at least. But yeah, the cost is emotional, the cost is physical, the cost is everything, but it's a necessary cost to pay because I'd rather work through all of this shit right now to live the life I want, to have time, to have choice freedom, to do what I want, when I want, where I want, however the fuck I want, than to kind of coast and be a little comfortable and have some days that are a little stressful, some days where I'm a little like, what the fuck am I doing? And then never experience life to its fullest. So I just think the goal and the what you can come out of this is so big. The pain is temporary, but then the memories and everything else you're gonna experience will last forever.
You guys ever feel like you're not doing enough?
I feel like I'm not doing enough every single day.
Every day you have this feeling?
Yeah.
Every day you have the feeling that you're not doing enough.
Yes.
There are days where I feel like I'm not learning enough, but as far as doing enough, yeah, I probably feel that. That's why I can't really relax at my other weeks too much because I feel like what else can I do? There's more I have to do right now.
I think for me is, so I noticed for lots of entrepreneurs, they have the trade-off. There is something more made for me and made for more. And they have a trade-off, a deep-rooted insecurity. So it's kind of conflicting each other, but it's a perfect recipe for an entrepreneur. Because I know there is more being for me, I mean for something bigger. I keep working, but that insecurity keeps me pushing to pursue even more the next day. Even though I accomplish all the things for the day, I still feel like, yeah, I'm not doing enough because that insecurity pushed me to do even more next day. So it's not like in a negative way, I'll feel I'm not doing enough because I'm wasting my time. It's more so I can do better next time.
I can't think of a more polarizing blessing and curse. It really is. It really is when you think about it. It's like it will propel you to success, but that success some days isn't enjoyable. I have those days, by the way. So I relate to this.
I think the cost you mentioned, like the stress, the emotion, all that, in my opinion, I get two things. The first one is everything has a price, right? So that's the price of being successful. And then there's a price of being broke as well, which is stress about not having money. That's also stress. We're not being able to take care of your family. We're not able to see your family if we live our ways. Everything has a price. So what kind of price are you paying? I mean, what do you think that's worth the price we're paying? And that's your decision.
Yeah. And just one quick thing. I didn't say success never feels enjoyable. I didn't say success always feels unenjoyable. But some days, like I look back, especially when you measure in reverse, you're like, dude, you guys have achieved success. Like I've achieved a level of success. But some days I don't feel that it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
So that's reality for me. I'm not saying it's always that way, just some days. So
Yeah.
I clarify that.
There was somebody that I heard, it's basically what Helena was saying was like being broke is painful and being an entrepreneur is painful. You pick your pain.
Which kind of part do you want to be?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. The second one is during those time, like if one was super stressed, we're all handling the super tough conversation, which happens a lot. I just thought, oh, it's the opportunity for me to train myself, become more resilient on that part. I think it's like working out, you build your muscle, right? So next time you maybe lift like a 40 pounds, it's not that heavy for you anymore.
Yeah.
So if my brain muscle can experience for sure that kind of stress, burden, next time it doesn't feel like anything to me anymore. Something bigger or even worse will make me feel something, but something at the same level or same amount of volume or task will feel like nothing for me. I'm just getting used to it. It's like breathing the air.
Yep.
It's a milestone. If you run like 5 miles, yes, not as lot, but after you get used to it, it feels nothing. Then 10 miles will feel like the new 5 miles for me.
You guys are definitely built different. Not everyone's like this. You guys probably know this, but
I also think like when you like firmly believe in what you're doing to yourself, you're like, hey, it's gonna get done. I'm gonna figure it out. All these moments that they come, you look at it in a different light. It's the way you perceive it, right? I think I don't know who exactly said that, but I heard from Wayne Dyer. He says like when you believe it's gonna work, you see opportunities. When you believe it's gonna fail, you see obstacles. Yeah. So it's the same thing you're looking at, like this water bottle. This is clock on my path. It's either opportunity to grow and get the skills I need to grow to get to the next level, or it's an obstacle as to why it didn't happen.
yeah.
Right. So like when you are solution oriented instead of problem focused, that's when you're able to like, all right, I'm gonna get it done. It's fine. Like there's no doubt in my mind. So I look at it differently, and now I'm looking for solutions instead of looking for excuses. So like when we have these problems, it's like, hey, we've been here before. It's fine. Let's figure this out. We'll figure it out. And then you develop a way of thinking through problems, thinking through issues. And once you have that thinking down, I mean, it's just like we know we'll get past it because we already have the way to process it.
Yeah.
So our disposition team, now we have one new hire and he's still under training, so he's not producing anything yet. And my longest person on the roll, she's leaving next week for maternity leave. And just so much going on. I know it's gonna be a lot on that plate. And she was, over having one-on-one yesterday, and she was asking me, "Hey, are you gonna be okay? I feel it's too much for you. I'm so worried for you. Are you gonna be okay? I'm so sorry. It's a bad time for me to leave." And I just told her, "Yeah, I'm gonna be okay, because it has to be okay. And there is no perfect timing when things come. It comes, we just handle it, making sure things keep getting done, and it has to be okay. There's no other way."
Well, thank you guys for coming on the show. This was I think you're episode to talk about mindset and stuff. I think you're good to see you, Helena. So thank you. All right. Appreciate it.